right, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly software workshop. We're going to go ahead and give everybody that's getting into the attendance here just a couple minutes to get onto the webinar. So we'll give everybody about another minute here before we get started. So just hang tight for just a couple minutes. All right, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode, if you would call it, of the weekly software workshop. For those of you who are unaware, my name is Mason Wells. I'm the manager of customer success here at eTruckBiz. Last year, about this time or so, we started our weekly software workshops where we get all of our customers and potential customers on our a webinar to go over little bits and pieces of the software to allow for you guys to ask as many questions as possible and to not get really overloaded with a lot of information, because the software system is very robust and has a lot of stuff in there. Just so you're all aware, our webinar for Thursdays, our weekly software workshop, are very informal, and we do unmute your guys' devices and stuff, so we allow you guys to unmute and ask questions as we go, and don't feel like you're going to offend me. It takes a lot to do that. If you have a question right in the middle of something I'm saying, go ahead and interrupt me and ask, because I'd rather you ask the question and get your answer you need rather than wait till later and potentially lose that thought. Happens to me a lot, so I can empathize. Today, we're going to go over entering maintenance records. So for those of you who are potentially still filling out those MMRs by hand, those pesky MMRs, or would like to kind of streamline that process, this is your webinar for today that you would want to, it's a good one to attend. We also have, within the maintenance system, you can enter those maintenance records, create preventative maintenance notifications, and you can schedule preventative maintenance in there as well. So it's more than just the MMRs, and we'll get into that as we get going here. But just so you know, we do this every Thursday, and we do a lot, we do encourage, I guess would be the word, encourage AOs, BCs, some of those people to attend to this, because it is not just for AOs, it also can be for BCs, especially this week. We're going over the MMRs. Some of you might have your BCs doing that. So we do encourage you to have everybody on as you can. The next couple of weeks are here. We're going to go over the op metrics in the system next week. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to go over a monthly recap of everything we've kind of already gone over this month. And then beginning of next month, we're going to go over the time definites in the Optics app. And that is strategic because we were, for those of you who have not gotten any time definites or the express volume yet, that day is in the horizon. So we want to make sure that everybody is prepared to use the Optics app to the best of your ability to help you and aid you in getting those time definites completed on time and get that extra money that you can get for doing those. So we want to make sure that everybody can make it to that one. We will be going over that. And just as a general housekeeping thing, here is my contact information. If you ever have any questions about the software or services, or have any questions about anything that is in our system, just shoot me a call, shoot me an email. I would be more than happy to answer those questions for you. So let's go ahead and get in the BOSS system. So for those of you who have not been in the BOSS system yet before, this is our main software system. So let's go ahead and get in there. Okay, so I'm going to log in as one of our customers who has been with us since the beginning, and so that you guys can see some live data in here. This is the main screen that pops up when you get in here, and in order to kind of guide you in the correct area of our system is driver and truck centric as far as the boss system is concerned. So if it pertains to a driver, it's going to be under your employees over here, timekeeping, managing your employees are going to be in there, and anything that pertains to your vehicles are going to be under vehicles. So in this case, the maintenance records are maintaining your vehicles. So we're going to click there, and it's going to show you your vehicles down the left-hand side. And if you click on one, it pops up all that fun stuff about your vehicle. But there are two places that say maintenance, and only one of them is the MMR system. So it's this one at the top. This is managing your daily maintenance logs of your vehicles. Maintenance requests are for line haul. So for those of you who are not line haul, you want this one, not the bottom one. And maintenance requests are for line haul, for them to request, for the drivers to request maintenance on their tractor trailers. So that is separate. Okay. So we're going to go to maintenance, and it's going to pop up with anywhere that has like data that's getting displayed. Other than the timekeeper, it's going to default to a month's worth of information. The timekeeper, when you get in there, it's going to default to today, like it's going to show you today's information. Everywhere else, it shows you a month, okay? And right below the dates, it's going to show you what filter you have on. So this particular system is going to default to everything. It's going to show you all vehicles and all types. But if you click filter, and let's say you change the filter the last week, it's going to show you last week, and it's going to show you all this. But if you choose, let's say, buy a vehicle, it's going to show you what vehicle number and what type of maintenance. So if you're ever curious what type of maintenance you're looking at or what filters you've seen in here, that is what you're seeing. Instead of having to open up that filter every single time you're curious what you're looking at, you can look up here and it'll tell you what you are currently viewing. But we're going to go back here, go back to last month, all vehicles. So in his particular situation for this contractor, he does have his BC is going in here. One of his BCs goes in here and puts in maintenance. There is a way, if you have, say you have a maintenance guy who is always does all your maintenance, and it's the same guy over and over again, you can add him to your system, and he can go in here and he can put his invoices in here for you if you are comfortable with him doing that. When you go in here and you click add employee, there is a thing down here under permissions, employee maintenance. That person can access the maintenance system in your equipment, and they can log into the boss system and directly go to that maintenance area and put that stuff in. We do have quite a few contractors that they use the same maintenance guy over and over and over again, and have them in here as a maintenance person, and they can go in and put it in. So it's not just strictly AOs and BCs that can get in here and do that if you would like. Okay. We'll go back here into maintenance and I'll show you. So like I said, for this particular contractor, if we're going to look at the last month, January to January, because he's going to be putting in his MMRs for the month of January. So it does, the filters do work. Anytime you see last week, it's going to do the FedEx week. So it's going to do Saturday through Friday. But we did last month because we're going to look at everything he did to his trucks. For his, as big as his operation is, him only having this amount of maintenance is actually pretty good. But you can see the unit number, the type. There's a lot of different filters in here. There's this filter under here. So you can filter by the truck, but then also you can sort all of these columns. So if you're looking for a particular type of service, say you've got 20 plus repairs in here and you want to look at them by service, you can click this arrow and it's going to filter that particular area. What else is in here? So if you want to go in and edit one, so if you've already had a record in here and you want to edit it, you're going to click the edit button. I'm just going to pull up all the information that you already entered in here. Okay, so in this case, this was not preventative maintenance. Any of these edits, if you wanted to add a note to it, so you already added a maintenance record and you want to put a note in there later on, you can go in and edit it. So don't feel like if you missed something in there in the first place that you can't go in and edit the record. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how to add some maintenance records here. Okay, so because you cannot create your MMR without first entering the records. So where it says add maintenance is where we're going to click, and you're going to determine whether or not this is a PM or not. So if it's preventative maintenance, you're going to toggle this over to yes. So those types of things, I'm sure you all are aware, are things like an oil change, things like that. So things that are preventative, oil filters, what have you. So we're going to say that this is preventative maintenance because we do want to give ourselves a reminder. So we're going to say that this was last month. Let's just do 31st. And all of your vehicles that are active in our system are going to show up in here. So if you're not seeing a truck number in your list that should be in there, I would go back and check your trucks and make sure that truck is active and that it's in the system. Because if it's not in this list, that means it's either not in the system or it's showing up in your inactive truck list, which you can totally make that truck active again. That's not a big deal. But just if it's not there, those are the two places I would check first. Okay, so we're going to choose a truck, and you know, as often as possible, you want to put an odometer in there. Some contractors still have CSAs, not any in the continental US, I believe, but most of you are CSAs. So we're going to choose one, and we're going to choose a different type of maintenance. So if you click other, it's going to let you type it in. A lot of people have asked, how do I get this list to populate? He has a lot in here because over time, like I said, he's been with us since the dawn of eTruckBiz. He's got a lot of information in here. You will want to, if there's nothing in here under maintenance type, you'll want to go to other, and then you'll type it in. I would keep these maintenance types very simple. So he's got some in here that are, I mean, engine, D-ring. I mean, if you want to put in, I'm sure he's got one here that says oil. You want to keep oil pump. You want to keep it very simple and try to keep it so this list doesn't get really long. So here you go, oil. And you would put in oil change. Oil. Ooh. Can't type today. And then the same thing with vendors. So in this case, he has a lot of vendors in here. You typically in your areas, if you're going to the Valvoline, which probably not, but whatever the case may be, if you go to the same vendors all the time, you click other, back down a lot here, you can type in the vendor. So anytime you see in our system where there's a drop down that you guys would need to populate, you go to other and it gives you the ability to put it in. And then the next time, you know, you'll save it, the next time you go in here to do another maintenance record, it'll show up in your list. Okay, so let's see if we can find one that would potentially be an oil change, not interstate. That we'll just do that. I don't think I've ever seen an oil change on one of these trucks that's $100, but that's my default number usually. And you can also put in the labor hours. And this is the type of thing that would be good if you had your truck in the shop for a while and there's like a list of things that they did and you want to keep track of how long it took. And also if the maintenance guy is getting in here and putting all this information in, that would be a good place to put in his labor hours. And then this is also good if you're replacing a certain part in these trucks. I know some of these trucks are getting, you know, up there in years and it's hard to find parts for sometimes. So keeping track of a model number or a part number or what have you, keeping track of those in here can be beneficial for you guys because you can go back in the future and look and say, hey, what part number was that? Like, where did I even get that from? So that way it keeps track of that as well. And any notes. So if you've got some notes, you know, how much you used in the truck, that's also really good to do if you put oil in the truck and say this time The mechanic went in and he noticed that the truck was actually low on oil, that would be something you want to put in here. To say, hey, look, double check next time there's oil done on this truck that it didn't lose a bunch of oil this time. You might have an oil leak. So keeping track of things like that are things you would be able to put in here. And then you can also set up reminders. So this is for maintenance reminders that you're going to have to do over and over and over again. Say you want to know, I want to know, so that was the 31st. I want to know on the 31st of March that this truck needs to have its oil changed again. You can do a date reminder, or you can also do an odometer reminder. You can say every 2,000 miles, and you would put the odometer mileage in that you would want to know when that maintenance is due. How our system knows that the odometer is getting close is by your drivers doing pre and post trip inspections. So this will only work if they're doing those pre and post trip inspections on the driver app. If your drivers are not using that, you'll want to use the date, okay? Because if you put the odometer in there with no date, it's never coming. The update is not coming unless those drivers do that pre and post trip inspection. And then you do want to select a status, which is due. Once we're going to go ahead and save this, and you'll see it pop up real fast here. Once the maintenance has been done, say this is now March, you do want to come back. You'll get a notification that it's due. You do want to come back here and switch this from due to completed, okay? So that you stop getting those notifications. A lot of people will do that. They'll go in here and change that setting in here from due to completed when they go to put in the record for March or whatever the month was that we put that in here, March. They would go in and they'd put in the new maintenance record, and then they'd go back to the old one and set it to completed. That's just a great way of keeping track of them all. And so you don't continue to get notifications from us telling you that something is overdue that's already been done. And you can also put it for maintenance interval, how often you would want that as well. One thing to note, if you're wanting to add records to this, like supporting files, you have to, let's try to add one. You have to save this record before you can upload the files to support it. The reason for that is, as far as, in lay terms, I would call it, the record does not exist for us to take those files and then add them to that record. So you have to make the record first, click save, and then go in and edit it and click upload file. Okay, so that's how you would upload a file in there. And this is a great place to put like those invoices, if you got it from a maintenance guy, and keep track of it. It's a very sophisticated filing system. And if you ever need it, you can come back in and pull it out. So that is how you would do that. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because this is live information. I don't want him pulling that up on an MMR. So, and as you can see, when in his notes, he put the check number that he paid this with. So for him, he put, hey, this is the check number I wrote to pay for this particular tire service. So those notes are just for you. They do not come up on the MMR. They do not get generated on there in any way. So they are an internal note for you to remember whatever you need to know about that maintenance record. Okay. Any questions so far about adding maintenance or editing any of these reports, these records before we get into the MMR?
Nope.
Okay. One thing before we get into the MMR, you can export these as a CSV. I will tell you, when this export CSV does download, it's exporting whatever you're displaying here. Okay. So if you want to export a certain date range, you want to filter it first and then click export CSV. So that's where you'll figure, you'll create the dates you want and then click export CSV. It won't, like it used to be that you would click export CSV and it asks you for what dates. It's based off of the dates you're displaying. And one last thing is these maintenance reminders.
Mason, can I add something there?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a great tool if you're ever gonna
sell a truck or something and you have all the maintenance records, it's gonna do nothing but help the value of that truck. So so you can filter it by the truck for the entire time that you own that truck, and then you could export that into the CSV file when you do make the sale. Thanks.
Yep, and that's also something that I forgot to bring up. When you filter, there's something that's really great about this as far as like managing your fleet as well. I know a lot of people that they'll go in here and they'll at the end of every year or even halfway through the year sometimes too, if they think that they're spending too much money on particular trucks, they'll go in here and they'll say year to date, and they'll choose a vehicle and they'll go through each one of these vehicles and they'll check to see how much work is being done on each one of these trucks throughout the year. And I'm trying to find one that he's got a bunch of maintenance on. So for this particular truck, it's not very long, but for this year, he's only spent $54.58. Now, if I were to go and let's go back an entire to 2023. So in this case,
Wow.
he did a bit on this particular truck there we go. For 2023, if he was going in to reevaluate how much money he spent on every one of his trucks and decide, do I need to continue spending money on this truck? Do I need to replace it, phase it out, what have you? He can go in and choose which truck he wants to look at, and it tells you the total amount you spent on each one of those trucks. And just like Ken was saying, if this was the case that he owned this truck for that year, he can export that out and it's ready for the next owner to evaluate themselves as well. But for you guys that are continuing to own these businesses and manage these trucks and maintain them, that's a big replacement. And he may decide, the beginning of this year, that might be one of his trucks on the chopping block to be replaced. But he wouldn't, if you don't if all you're doing is putting in here, what's happened to the truck. This is just a great way to keep track of everything that's happened to the truck, but it's a great tool to evaluate, because a lot of people will say, well, yeah, I spend a boatload on maintenance. Well, but where is that maintenance money going? Is it going to a truck that you could be spending the same amount of money replacing or repairing it on a new truck? And it would eventually cost you less money than spending all the money you're spending on it to keep it running, keeping it alive. So this is a great tool to use for that, and it's a double-edged sword. You're putting this information in here because you have to create those MMRs. You might as well use it to your advantage and use it to be able to evaluate these trucks in the process as well. So that's why we added that ability to filter by vehicle. Okay. There's all of his maintenance, all of it for that year. Now, the MMR. When right here it says MMR report, regardless of what is in this filter. So like at this point, I'm looking at all of his vehicles for all of 2023. Regardless of what is in this filter, when you click MMR report, it's going to pull this pop-up up, okay? There are lots of things to choose from. It's based on, there's a reason that all of these things are here to choose from. It's because not all terminals are created equal, and not all terminal managers are created equal as well. Some want you to omit maintenance dates. I don't know why, but we've been asked for that, so now it exists. So if your terminal manager wants you to omit maintenance dates, you can omit them. If you have a signature in our system, which I will show you where to put it, so that way you can click yes. If you have a signature in our system, you can have it sign it for you, so you don't have to print every single one of these out and sign them and scan it back in. Operating unit. So this particular contractor only has one. He's got multiple domiciles under one operating unit, which is the company. And he can pull these out by domicile. So that's how he pulls his MMRs for 2 different terminal locations. So I believe he does it this way. We'll do this. So he chooses, each truck has that domicile chosen, and I'll show you when we get in there how to assign that. But You can select it by domicile, but you can also do it by CSA. So you can choose either one of these to determine how you're going to pull it. One or the other is fine, or both. And then we're going to go ahead and click Generate MMR. For those of you who might be in Canada, we also have the Canada MMR because they are different. You just toggle that over. And this completion date defaults to today, whatever the day is, but you also want to make sure you're choosing January. I just looked up there and saw it defaults to February, or the month you're in. You just want to make sure you go back a month and create MMR. No vehicles. Please double check that your vehicles. Okay, he doesn't use that one then. He's trying to figure out which one he uses. What I get for, he just put them under the CSA. That's what he did. Okay, so he puts all of his under the CSA number and does not do the domicile. But when you open this up, it's going to put the domicile in there. It's going to fill everything out. He does not have an odometer in there right now for each of his trucks, which I'm sure he's going to fill out before he turns these in. But it fills everything out for you. No, there weren't any repairs. If no maintenance were performed, you check that box, signs it, good to go. Fine, that's the one for that. He's only got one truck in that one. So let's do. Here we go. Okay. So here's this domicile, and here's all this information. And again, he doesn't have the mileage in there. We have to make sure he puts that in there. Let's find one that had maintenance. He only had 3 records of maintenance this month. So tell you what. That one. But his truck's all in here. There we go. I don't know which one he's got them domiciled under, to be honest with you. Let's see, we'll go check. There we go. 44 KCMO. So see right here where it says the domicile, that's right here. You can choose the domicile there, and he doesn't have a default CSA for these, so it's got to be under the domicile. So here's all 3 of those options. Remember where I was showing you the operating unit, the domicile, and the default CSA? Those where all 3 of those are for these trucks to make sure that they're in the right place. No. Was that one? Right. If it's a big file, it may take a second. Here we go. I would love for all of you to have no maintenance on any of your trucks throughout the month, but I know that's incorrect. If it has maintenance, like I said, he only has 3 and he's got like 3 different locations, it would show up in here, it would be filled out. And it would have, this box would be checked yes, and these wouldn't be checked at all because that's how it's supposed to be filled out. The mileage. Okay, so here's one thing about the mileage. If maintenance was done on your trucks, the reason I said the odometer is really important is because the mileage that's here for that truck gets put onto the MMR. If your truck didn't have any maintenance done on it, so in this case, he's got, a couple, 3 or 4 trucks here that had maintenance. These 4 will have these mileages on them. The rest of them, for that mileage to show up correctly, you will have to go in here to your trucks. If you click on one, see where it says mileage verification right here? This is why they were all showing up as 0. He goes back in here and sets them to 0. And this is a line haul truck though, so let's go down to one that's not line haul. So this mileage verification, you want to make sure that this is updated. So what we have people do, and what a lot of people do, is they just go through, they walk down the terminal, they grab all the mileages for all the trucks, and then they come in here and just real quickly go truck after truck and put those mileage verifications in. That's so you don't have to have, this is so you don't have to edit those MMRs and put that mileage in there. You put it in here, you click save, that mileage is up to date, and then you go to pull your MMRs. Okay, so we've had a lot of people ask where that mileage comes from. If maintenance was done on that truck for that month, that's where the mileage comes from. No maintenance was done at all, it comes from this mileage verification. Okay, do you have any questions, or does Ken or any of you have anything to add to that?
Looks like there's a question in the chat.
How do we change the yes, no checks? Our system will not allow us to change them. For what purpose would you need to change the yes, no check? You're talking about these check boxes. For what would be the purpose of you needing to check them? Because those go based off of what, if there was any maintenance record in our system to check these boxes. So, for instance, if I had one here that was not preventative, where did it go? So this tire service, you saw how it said, was this preventative maintenance, and we toggled it to no. This will, any repairs or preventative maintenance, if there's a maintenance record in our system, it'll show up here, and this will be checked yes. System doesn't always get it correct, and I need to add an out of service, etc. And do you know what that is? Need to add an out of service.
What was that?
She said the system doesn't always get it correct, and I need to add an out of service, etc.
Yeah, I mean, if it's out of service, it's not going to generate, correct?
I mean,
wouldn't you just show that truck inactive?
yeah, I mean, if it's a truck that's out of service, you would go in here, you would go to the truck in question, and you would turn it from in service to out of service, and then that truck will no longer come up in your MMRs. She said it's not always inactive, it's simply out of service.
Meaning something, if like, say an truck's down for an engine, it might be down for more than a month. Yeah, for the repairs to be done.
Would that still need to have an MMR, Ken?
Yes, if it's still an in-service truck, but it's not being run due to, like I said, waiting on parts or something, or an engine, which would take more than a month. So you could enter a record to say that the truck is in the shop.
But then wouldn't it check these boxes that say repairs or preventive maintenance performed?
It would,
I think
yeah,
that's what she's
anything
getting
that,
at.
if something is entered, it's gonna say that repairs are done.
That's a
So
good
we might
question.
need,
I'm kind
we
of
might
shocked.
need to add
I'm
a
kind of
line
shocked that the entire time our MMR system has existed, we've never had that question before.
that we might need to add a line.
Well, the hard part is here, these MMRs, so these maintenance records itself, we cannot edit those.
That's
Those are not,
FedEx's.
like, the actual form itself is FedEx's form. Well, it's actually a US form. It's not just FedEx's form. Like, it's a DOT form. And we have been strictly told not to change this form itself.
Right. We would just have to, maybe give an option that it could change if it is a vehicle that's in the shop but still in service. I don't know.
Only instance form was the unit out of service and unable to provide service. Waiting report. Well, it says right here, if no service was performed, you would check yes. So that's what your that was, yeah. So you're saying you want to be able to make it so that you can say if no maintenance was performed, then check this box that says yes, it was waiting on repair, which has like that used to be in the old system. For some reason I feel like no, it couldn't have been because this didn't that if no clause did not exist on the old MMR. I would know because I've seen a lot of the old MMR. That's it. That is going to be a talking to the development team and seeing if we can get. So what they'll probably do for you, Tracy, is when you go to pull the MMR, probably either that, and they'll either put it in here or they might put a field in here somewhere that asks, is this vehicle out of service? Is this vehicle awaiting repair? Yes or no. They might put it in here so that way they can check that box. If yes, then this box will be checked, type thing. But we'll talk to them and I'll let you know where that ends up going. Okay? Because that you are correct. And I know quite a few contractors that have vehicles, unfortunately, that are awaiting repair in the sitting there, that this would need to be checked, yes. Well, I will check with them. Thank you for bringing that up. Like I said, I can't believe that's the first time we've gotten that question. And the whole time that the MMR system has been around, and it has been around for a while. Any other questions about the MMRs? Andy, I'm shocked. Both Andrew and Andy, I am both shocked, but I have no questions from either of you. Does anybody have any questions about any other part of the system that we did not go over today that you might have been in it this week and had questions about how something works, any of the apps? For those of you who haven't been on in a while, the Optics app did get an update. So if you haven't updated your Optics app lately, you might want to get in there and update it. Make sure it's on the newest version. It's got a whole new facelift. And if no one had any other questions.
And I might add
Tracy,
the new Optics
yes.
app. So, but I'm biased.
It's what?
So
Oh, well, you
far.
are extremely biased. All right, everybody. If nobody else has any other questions, comments, or concerns, Tracy, thanks for the question there. We will get back with you about getting that fixed in there. If I don't see or hear from any of you for the rest of the week, have a great rest of your week. Next week, we're going to go over utilizing Opmetrics. It's an excellent tool. The information shows up in there 10 p.m. Eastern every day, so you can see almost in real time as possible your information for today to get ready for tomorrow. So make sure you don't miss that, and especially make sure nobody misses the time definites in the Optics app next month. Like I said, if I don't see you, if I don't see any of you next week or see you over the weekend, have a great rest of your week and have a very great weekend. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thanks. You do the same. Thank you.
Bye-bye.